Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. It's always a pleasure for you guys to hang out with us on the Real Estate Experience with myself, Travon Smith. I'm excited today because we get to touch a new topic, something that's important, especially if you're dealing with investments, real estate. We're going to be talking about life insurance. Life insurance, I've grown to understand it a little bit more, still trying to understand it. But I notice the more people that I'm around with, the more money they all have an increased amount of life insurance to make sure they take care of their debts and amongst those things for their loved ones. Today, I had a pleasure speaking to this young man, somebody I know very, very well, very trustworthy, the one and only Maximilian Barnes. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I'm super excited about this convo for sure.
Definitely a pleasure, man. So go ahead and introduce yourself and to tell people a little bit about what you do and how you go about doing what you do.
Awesome, awesome, no problem. Yeah, so my name is Max, as Travon said, and I've been in the financial services space, specifically in the life insurance and annuity space for about 7 years now, going on 8 years. And it's been a really exciting career, honestly. Every single year seems to have gotten a lot better for me, financially, knowledge-wise, being able to also kind of expose, young people as well to an industry that I would say is a little bit more old school. You don't typically see a lot of young insurance agents, walking around the country here or walking around the world there. So, what I've done over the last several years is, or I guess I'll go into how I work exactly and what companies I work with and all of that. And so I actually represent about 42 different insurance companies. And so all of those companies maybe specialize in more so annuities. Some of those companies specialize more so in life insurance products as well. So I am licensed to sell in multiple states, anything from term life insurance to whole life to universal life, different variations of universal life like index universal life, which has been a really hot product, I would say, most recently over and spilling over into the retirement sector, more so dealing with all fixed annuities. So all the products I do deal with are fixed, meaning that the clients will not lose any money. Their money is not based on, if the market goes down, they're going to lose the money that they've contributed into the plans or any interest that they've made. So, it kind of allows for me to sleep well at night, knowing that the client's money is protected. And it's really exciting too, because I can kind of bring something to the table that most people are not used to learning or hearing about. Most people, when they think about life insurance, they thinking about dying all the time.
Yeah.
And as you talked about, Travon, on various occasions, that it's really for the living. There's a
Yeah.
lot of different ways to use life insurance while we are here on Earth. And one of those ways, which I'll kind of transition into, if that's okay, we're talking about not so much dying, but let's talk about if you get diagnosed with a major illness, what happens financially?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people suffer financially. My mother's father, my grandfather, he was a real estate investor and had a construction company, and he was diagnosed with cancer. And most people, that's not unique to my story, a lot of people's family members and friends are diagnosed with different illnesses and they live through it.
Mm.
So life insurance nowadays has a product or a rider, or an additional benefit now that if you're diagnosed with a major illness, you actually can utilize a percentage of the death benefit amount of your life insurance while you are living.
Mm.
So that's not taking a loan, that's not borrowing from the policy or tapping into your cash value. Some people may think that as well. That's not what that is. Literally, they are accelerating a percentage of your death benefit while you're living. For example, I have a special client of mine, my godmom. She works for the IRS, so she's
Mm.
referred me a ton of IRS clients actually, and they like to use life insurance, knowing the IRS codes, how to utilize it in a tax advantage way, where they can grow money, pull it out tax free according to the IRS, right? And so, unfortunately, literally only 1 year after I put a plan in place for her, she was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer.
Mm.
So we took her smallest policy with the value of it at 170 grand, and we were able to being able to get her offered at $80,000 of her policy to utilize while she was living. So she ended up going off work without pay. Ended up only taking $45,000. What they do is, though, they lower your death benefit minus that amount.
Okay,
So
that's what I want you to explain.
yeah.
So if you take out a term for you know what I'm saying, like you were talking about, unfortunately about your godmom, and it's
Hmm.
$170,000 policy, and then
Hmm.
they front you kind of like you know like a bonus,
Hmm.
if I may say, for in an unfortunate circumstance, they front you a percentage of that, then they take it away from the end if something unfortunately happens.
Mhm. So specifically, not necessarily them fronting you the money, it
Yeah,
specifically is that $170,000 is hers because if she was to die, that 170 grand will pass down to her children.
yeah.
Right. And so what they're doing is they're allowing for clients, instead of having to die to access the death benefit,
Mhm.
they're allowing you to access the death benefit while you're living. So if you're
Mine,
diagnosed
minus
with,
what they gave you though.
right, correct.
Okay,
So
okay,
if you,
that's what I wanted people to understand.
oh
Minus of
gosh.
what they gave you. I got you.
Yep,
Go
yep.
ahead,
So
go
if you
ahead.
take, let's say you take, no, that's a great point. So let's say the policy is, $100,000 and they offer you, they say, okay, you can take any amount up to $50,000 of your death benefit. So in most cases, they'll lower your death benefit minus the amount that you have taken out
Okay,
from that policy. Now, various companies may have different ways that they utilize what they call accelerated benefits or living benefit riders there, but that allows for the everyday person who may not have access to 30,000, $50,000, $100,000 to
I
be able
got you.
to live. Because the problem is in our country specifically is the healthcare system, really.
Yeah,
Because when we're diagnosed with different illnesses, we still got our mortgages, our rent,
yeah,
our overhead expenses, car note, your light bill, gas bill. Our health insurance doesn't cover that.
yeah.
So what does cover that? And that's a big reason why people file bankruptcy,
And
is because of those.
I'm glad you touched on that. I want to, like I said, the 15-minute goes by quick. So I'm definitely somebody I want you to keep coming around and keep educating us about
Yeah.
this. I want to get into a couple different topics. If you're just
Yeah.
tuning in, it's the real estate experience right here with Travon Smith, with Max Barnes. He's a life insurance specialist, and he also specializes in annuity. We just talked about pulling away from some of your life insurance if you have stage 1 cancer or unfortunate situation where you could pull against your life insurance. I want to talk about two things before we get out of here, man. One thing I want to talk about is are you able to get insurance and pull from it without unfortunate circumstance? That's one. The second question is, I have a buddy of mine, and I'm just trying to, foreshadow where I want to go with the show because we have a lot of people from real estate that he always increases his life insurance every year because he gets a new property. So I want to talk about why does he do that? Because he wants to make sure his properties get paid for. So if you could touch on both of those, take your time to a certain degree, but you know what I'm saying? Just can you walk us through both of those situations?
Absolutely. So the first question or first example there is essentially a person, you may have heard of this term maybe on TikTok or social media, as becoming your own bank.
Yeah.
And these people are essentially utilizing life insurance, specifically cash value. So
Mm.
not term, but specifically cash value life insurance, which can be your whole life or your universal life type of policies, the way those are structured. And you can actually put money, overfund those policies. So put a lot more money than what typically most people will put in a policy versus whatever the cost of insurance is. And what they'll do is there's an interest that gets paid out, right? That
Mm.
they accumulate in those policies. And so those people typically will say, hey, 5 years from now, I'll take 10, 20, 30, 40, $100,000 out of my policy. Maybe they want to withdraw that or even take a loan out against their policy, and they want to go ahead and invest it into real estate.
Okay.
Maybe they want to go and invest it into starting a business, right? And I think a really awesome strategy in terms of what to utilize that money for is real estate.
Yeah.
I think real estate is an amazing investment, is an amazing opportunity to build wealth, right? Just one of the main reasons every day people are becoming multimillionaires is due to real estate. And so a lot of people, though, starting out don't have that lump sum of money.
Mm.
So that can be a great avenue to utilize to be able to grow that money, a little bit of money over time, access that money without penalty. Because you got to
Mhm.
realize, in comparison to other plans, a lot of people are penalized if they access the money
Yeah.
too soon.
Like a
So that's a place
like
where
a
they can
cow
do
purrs or something like
exactly.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And to answer the second question there, your colleague or your friend is probably utilizing something called mortgage protection, which is a little bit different than what most people are used to as it relates to mortgage protection. Most people look at it as you buy a property, you got the MPI, right, or private mortgage protection there that people are utilizing on those particular properties. But let's talk about, take it a little bit a step further there, is that there are additional things you have to pay for. And if something happens to you, whether you live, whether you die, now you have a greater access to capital to be able to maybe pay those properties off, or maybe being able to even leverage that money that your family can receive through those life insurance policies to accumulate more properties, right? And so that's probably the strategy that your friend is utilizing, which I think is an amazing strategy. And I've actually partnered up with a few mortgage professionals and real estate professionals utilizing these life insurance policies to help people increase their insurance amount to cover the amount of properties that they're accumulating over time to be able to build wealth, but also being able to pass wealth down tax free.
Yes, sir. And what's the so the what was the name of the insurance policy for the first one where you're able to pull out against your insurance policy without having any unfortunate situation?
Got you. So that would be, you could use a variations of a policy. So you can use a whole life policy, right? So this is just saying nothing happens. You don't die, you don't get sick, but you have this money accumulating. You can access money in a whole life insurance policy, or you can utilize what I personally have is like something like a universal life, which is an index universal life policy, where you're getting a little bit higher rate of return on your money there without the risk. So that would be the best route to go.
The index universal life. So that's what we want to educate people about. Index universal life is a situation where you can pay life insurance and borrow it against it sometime in the future because it's a high interest, in which you'll be paying a little bit more money, but it's a high interest. The second one we talked about is the mortgage protection. If your investments, if you have a home, you don't want to leave your partner, your spouse with that house, you can get the mortgage protection, which you'll pay a little bit more, I'm assuming, and therefore it takes care of the house and things amongst that, so you don't leave your loved ones with no debt. See, all this is intriguing because people just think, like you said in the very beginning, that life insurance we're just talking death, and it's not necessarily that. Right? Correct?
Exactly, 100%.
Okay, man, go ahead and give us your information where everybody can reach you at if they want to get a hold of you, and I'll make sure I'll put that in the description as well.
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your platform. Again, my name is Max Barnes, your local annuity and retirement life insurance specialist as well. Doesn't matter what state you're in, just contact me. I'm licensed in all states to be able to do business, so we can definitely talk. Virtual world we're living in today. But I would love for everybody to contact me directly. My cell phone number is 323-578-0291. Again, it's 323-578-0291. Feel free to text me or give me a call about any questions you have as relates to maybe life insurance or annuities. And again, thank you, Travon, for having me on your platform.
No, it's definitely a pleasure. And I want everybody to really understand what he's talking about. He really knows his stuff. I've known a couple of clients that he's worked with. And ladies and gentlemen, just because he got that handsome young face, I'm trying to tell you, he probably got more properties than all of us put together. So don't let him fool you. He got his stuff together. Max, I appreciate you for hanging out with us, educating me, man. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a text so I can get some more information about the utility, the wholesale insurance and things like that, so we can give a call to you and put some positive things into a situation while we're still loving our flowers while we're here. So appreciate your time and thank you for hanging out with us.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, boss. Have a good one.
All right, bro.